Is luxury apartment living becoming the new great Australian dream? I'm Tim Graham and the Property Playbook starts now. Today, I'm joined at the desk by Alexandra Bougouin from R.Corporation to dive into what people really want in apartment living in 2025. With buyers seeking security, location, community and amenity, we'll explore how these trends are shaping demand for high-end luxury apartments and redefining the way Australians choose to live. Alex, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
That's the way. So why don't we start by talking about, what sort of what are the biggest drivers in surge in demand for luxury apartment living today?
Well, we're finding the change in the mindset in terms of, the traditional Aussie dream of owning the big house with a big backyard has certainly changed, and people are really looking to that, luxury property, being an apartment, to move from housing into an apartment for that lifestyle and convenience. And we've seen that in particular at our project in South Melbourne, R.Iconic. A lot of people that have bought into the building have been living, out in the suburbs, in a 4-bedroom house, big backyard, have sold that, bought, a 1 or a 2-bedroom apartment just for that lifestyle. So people are really craving the lifestyle and the convenience rather than, sitting, in an hour traffic commute every day to get to work.
We've been talking to hotspotting over the last couple of years. We call it the rise and rise of apartments, and it's because there's so many different cohorts that are actually choosing to live this way, as you say. So we've got the downsizers, and they're not really necessarily looking to downsize on quality. They want to downsize from a big place with the big lawns and the gardens to something a bit more manageable. But also, investors are now seeing growth in apartments. Migrants coming from overseas are choosing to live this way. So there's a lot of different cohorts choosing to live in these types of apartments. What is it about the amenities that they really want?
So the amenities is obviously a big selling point for us. In our current building, R.Iconic, we have over 25 amenities, and we're finding the main focus on the amenities is wellness and convenience, as well as entertainment. So in the building we have a beautiful 1 acre of garden area, 300-metre running track, steam room, sauna, gym, and then there are the entertainment spaces such as a cinema, karaoke room, dining pavilions that the residents can all book to use, invite their friends and family over. So I'd say definitely wellness is number one, followed by convenience and entertainment.
Yeah, right. Yeah, obviously it was very well connected being in South Melbourne near the market, and you've got uninterrupted views of the bay. There's a lot going for it, but I've got to say I've seen apartment and condo apartments all over the world, and I've never seen a running track in a building.
I know. I don't think I've ever heard. I always ask, when I have people through, I'm like, have you ever seen this before? No. And generally the answer is no. I think I had someone from overseas who once mentioned, there's a building in Singapore or somewhere that did have that. But I think here definitely in Melbourne and maybe Australia, we're the only ones with the running track.
And we often talk about this type of apartment living, it's the convenience factor as well. Now, there's a lot of buildings people say you never have to leave, but your project at R.Iconic, you literally don't have to leave. You can go in an elevator down to Coles.
Absolutely. So we have Coles and Liquorland on the ground floor in the building. What else do you need? Exactly. So, if you're cooking your dinner that evening and you're like, oh, I forgot an ingredient, no problem. Literally don't even have to leave the building, go down directly into Coles. So absolutely the convenience is, I think, number one, and everyone's so time poor these days, so to have the Coles supermarket in the building is fantastic.
And look, in addition, amenities sort of stand in their own right to say this is something I can use for myself. But something that's becoming a really big thing in this type of living is actually the community that these buildings give. How are you finding, the people that may be moving and have that fear of downsizing into an apartment complex? It's a big change in mindset.
It is, and it's often a question like when I, take people around the building to show them the apartments. Particularly the downsizer or the rightsizers, community is very important to them, and they often ask me about the community in the building. We at R.Iconic we're 70% owner occupiers, so it really does have that community feel, and a number of the residents, now have formed, WhatsApp groups and talk to each other quite regularly, and there's like a book club, someone gives yoga classes to the residents. So there's that real sense of community in the building, and it's certainly an important factor that is brought up, when I meet with people and show them through the building.
One of the things that people are choosing to live in this lock-up and that lock-up lifestyle as well is security. That's got to be a big part of why people are choosing to live in these types of things. A lot harder for people to be getting onto the 12th floor than it is for jumping over a back fence. So are you finding that that's an important factor for people too?
Yeah, and I guess, you know, it seems like, you know, every other day you see in the news about, you know, a break-in or, you know, some sort of crime, and, you know, in well-established suburbs as well, which you wouldn't have thought would occur. So security, I think, is becoming more and more important in terms of decision factor. And in the building we have, you know, a whole mix of people from downsizers to young professionals, and they love the security element because, you know, often the downsizers are off travelling for half of the year. The young professionals may travel a lot for work. We actually have pilots that live in, a number of pilots who live in the building as well. And, you know, they're often away for, you know, 5-7 days at a time. So certainly security, I think, is becoming more and more important in the decision making in terms of the type of property people are choosing. And certainly, you know, at R.Iconic we have our 24/7 concierge, we have security that come in overnight, and obviously all the security cameras as well around.
Now, R.Corporation have done a lot of projects here in Melbourne, but there's something that stands out about them. I mean, what do you call your, you say...
everything considered?
Everything considered. So I've seen the project and I've visited the project, as you know, and I do believe that they've thought of everything.
It literally is everything considered. We do joke sometimes maybe too much considered, but certainly our owner, Andrew Rettig, he looks at everything, you know, initially from obviously the location that he picks for the site, you know, that to ensure there's the potential for that, the growth of the properties, the views, the types of views that the apartments have. Where we are in South Melbourne with the R.Iconic building, we are the last high-rise before the bay. So we're not going to get built out when you're overlooking Port Melbourne. So that's quite unique. You know, you can't often find a location in inner Melbourne where you're not going to be built out.
No, that's true.
So that's definitely you know, a real highlight about our location. And then, you know, other things that he considers are things like the amenities. So he selects low-cost amenities that are not going to drive up the body corporate fees, because we want people to make money. That's our vision, for people to create wealth through property. So we need to consider all of those factors, and obviously the amenities, you know, could potentially increase the cost. So that's something we, consider in terms of everything considered.
Well, the benefit of living there is quite obvious with all those amenities, but what about for the investors? You know, is this a project that is priced competitively in terms of getting good rental yields and things like that?
Yeah, so we found with R.Iconic Stage 1, we are achieving 25% higher than the South Melbourne average, which is fantastic. And I think that comes down to, obviously, location. People love the location, best of both worlds. You can jump on the tram, a couple of stops you're in the city, or in the other direction you're at Port Melbourne Beach. So location is key. And then the amenities, so prospective tenants, you know, looking around the area, that there's nothing like R.Iconic in the area.
It's a tenant's dream.
Exactly, like, you know, go downstairs, they've got the gym, the pool, Coles supermarket, everything, you know, that you would need. And with our Stage 2, which is currently under construction, there are even more amenities coming as well. So going from 25 amenities to 40 world-class amenities once Stage 2 is completed. So even more to come for, you know, the tenants and the owners in the building. And look, to be honest, around that area, there isn't a lot of projects that are actually going up that people can buy. I know you've got build-to-rents and things in the area. I must admit, many years ago, I recall this when I was living in the States, I went to and visited Boston. And what was really unique was they never sell anything off the plan. They actually build things and then sell it. They auctioned off an entire building because there was so much demand in that space, because everything was apartments, which is what we would call build-to-rent here. So you can't get ownership. So they sold this project out overnight. Now, we might not be at that point here in Melbourne just yet, but it does go to show that, you know, with those types of views and things like that, you can't actually take that ownership in some of the competitors around the area. Absolutely. It's certainly a unique offering for the area. And we're really excited that we've got our Stage 2 coming along as well, which will be completed in just under 2 years. So, very good. In terms of pricing, you know, I know obviously a lot of investors coming out of interstate markets right now, and obviously Melbourne, you know, we could argue that it was been at the bottom of the market for some time. So we've got some confidence that we'll get some growth in there. But in terms of prices compared to other capital cities, how are we sitting? We're cheap. Like, people come to us and we particularly from interstate, like Queensland and even Perth, and they look at our pricing and like, wow, this is great value. And particularly for the investors, you know, we've got some great products in our stage 2 building, R.Evolution, and we've actually designed some new floor plans, in particular for investors, that offer a large 1-bedroom with a MPR, like a multi-purpose room, with a Murphy bed included. So when they see that sort of offering, that's potentially, you know, almost a 2-bedroom offering, they can't, you know.
It does go to show the thought of everything.
Exactly. So I think pricing, as you say, you know, we are, you know, some people say that at the bottom of the cycle, and people are seeing that with the pricing.
Very good. And finally, looking ahead, what design or lifestyle trends do you see defining the next wave of apartment living here in Australia?
I think wellness will continue to be, you know, one of the main criteria that people look to with amenities. Certainly, you know, it's you see it all the time on Instagram and everywhere. It's all, you know, all the
way we want to live.
Exactly, all the different wellness fads and opportunities. And we're also seeing, because there are obviously a lot of new people coming into Melbourne, and that means that they'll have their family and friends visit from time to time, maybe from overseas. We're also seeing the importance of having, you know, within these apartment buildings, a separate studio apartment or almost like hotel room for residents to use, that they can book for their friends and family when they visit.
That's great thinking.
Yeah, so we're actually looking into trying to incorporate that in our stage 2 building, R.Evolution. So hopefully we'll find somewhere to put 1 or 2 of these spaces, and that will allow residents, you know, not to worry about, you know, having to accommodate their family in their apartment. They can just book the apartment for when they come, and they'll be obviously in the same building, which is
genius.
Yeah, fantastic.
Very good. And still some stamp duty rebates available as well on the second stage. Is it still under construction?
That's correct. There's still some fantastic stamp duty savings available. So absolutely, now is the time to buy.
Very good. Well, you heard it here first. Thank you very much, Alexandra.
Thank you, Tim.
That's the play for today, folks. This program's been brought to you by hotspotting.com.au. This is Ticker. We'll be right back.